Okay, so the story of Alamo Dallas goes back 5 years. Myself and our developer here, Jack Matthews, were introduced by really Tim League, our founder in Austin. Tim had looked at this site almost 7 or 8 years ago before we had even taken the market as a franchise partner. So we looked at it. It was one of the first sites we looked in Dallas. We wrestled with it and we didn't pull the trigger at that time just because we wanted a little more critical mass in downtown and South Dallas. And during that time, we got Richardson open in 2013, which was probably the best decision for us to make, bringing Alamo into the market. Is we didn't know what to expect in Richardson at first because a lot of people consider it the suburbs, but we've done probably some of the most ballsy programming that the company has ever done in that location, and it has sold very well. So it was a real refreshing treat to see that no matter where you go in the DFW Metroplex, people want the kind of content that Alamo has. Jack and I started, kind of rekindled our relationship about 18 months ago, and I just said, we like the area, we think it's ready. The LOI was hammered out in less than a day. The lease was hammered out in less than a couple weeks. It was very easy to work with a developer that doesn't have to quantify everything about his development. The Cedars is really Jack's passion project. And so having a developer like that really likes a partnership was incredible. So construction started a while ago, and thanks to the monsoon season we experienced, stalled things quite a bit. But we got back on track, and we are days away from our soft opening. So next week, next Monday, we kind of have role play dates, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where we're doing $1 off or $1 tickets and then 50% off food and non-alcoholic beverages to kind of get our staff acclimatized to carrying trays of food up the stairs in the dark. And then we soft open on the 12th. We'll be fully open. Everything will be fully open. We'll just be discounting food and doing a lot of specials until March, just to kind of say thanks for the patience. We know that training kids to carry food in the dark upstairs takes a little bit. So here's 15% off. So that's kind of how we got from Tim League starting this process almost 8 years ago to us actually having what I think is one of the most incredible Alamo structures we've ever built as a company. All the bricks that you see inside and out were taken from buildings that were condemned here in the Cedars. Some of you might know that this used to be the old Dallas Music Complex. The building was condemned, so we couldn't use it, but we were able to use the bricks. And in fact, we found quite a few of the original photos from the complex that will be framed and used in certain areas of the restaurant and bar that is our neighbor upstairs. Is that good? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thanks, guys.
Restaurant and bar upstairs.
See you later.
Is still an Alamo entity?
It is a different concept altogether. So it's sharing the building with us. We own it, but it is not part of Alamo. So it is just a separate concept that has its own standalone restaurant and bar, and it is in the building with us, so you can use it.
Standalone publicist?
Huh? Yes, and it is a completely different concept. We have a different publicist for it, and we'll be doing press for that starting in about 2 weeks. The space is not finished yet. But if you want to sneak in here next week, we will be serving drinks in it, so you can get a sneak peek. We'll have most of it finished by the end of the weekend.
So James, will you talk about the programming here specifically, and then how it relates to Richardson?
I said this at the roundtable last week, but essentially, Richardson was kind of throw it against the wall and see what sticks. I mean, it was the first and only Alamo here, and we really were really spoiled because we had a kind of a built-in fan base. We had a lot of people who either lived in Austin and went to Alamo there, or a lot of you guys, went to Alamo, went to Fantastic Fest, and so a lot of the stuff was just, this is the only one we have, so let's just try it and see it works. Now we have two, and kind of the fun challenge is to figure out the different personalities and how they kind of differ in programming based on a lot of factors where they are physically, the demographics, what does better at one versus the other. So first, the programming will it'll be very, very similar. There will be some stuff here at Dallas that's not at Richardson and vice versa. All the series, the local series that we started here in Richardson will stay in Richardson. Looking forward to starting some, new series here at Dallas. So over time, it will start to kind of differentiate itself, and I think that it's just going to take a couple months to figure out, I think I have a good idea of what is going to work here, but you really never know. Like I said, that's kind of, I think, part of the really fun challenge is figuring out, what the personality of this theater is, and then, Richardson's personality, I think, evolving as well. So. And we've
never wanted to plan things out in that nature. We always want each location to be its own entity and a neighborhood theater for that area. So, it all kind of happens very organically, and it's a lot of trial and error. So we're just we're gonna, like James said, we're gonna throw everything against the wall here. We're gonna see what sticks, and then, ideas will come to us, partnerships will happen with some of the different groups in and around Dallas, and then everything just keeps evolving.
Yeah, one consistent thing is Alamo has this monthly programming theme that is kind of centers around a new release that we really want to get behind, or obviously a holiday like Christmas, so there's always that monthly programming theme, and sometimes it's kind of more specific, and sometimes it's more just kind of general. One example of that would be every year when we kind of celebrate the best movies of the summer 30 years past, so summer of '86 this year. So no matter what Alamo you go to, there's always that core monthly programming. So you're kind of guaranteed to get that same experience, and that's where you see the montage that plays every month on screen. Birth, Movies, Death is every month is really centered around that theme. So one thing that will always be consistent is no matter what Alamo you go to, you're always going to have that core kind of programming month to month. But the fun stuff is, every Alamo has its own personality, and so the programming is very different per Alamo. So I'm really excited about that aspect of it.
Jordan, will you talk about your vision for Dallas and how it's all coming together?
The vision was always to really, put some jobs in the community, hire from the area, which I think we've been really successful at. We have a really great referral program to get people's friends in. The building that we officed in, we hired probably 10 or 12 people from that building alone, which is pretty impressive. We did meet and greets with the community as we led up to this opening to kind of get to know the community. Just a mixer of free beer kind of brings in a lot of people, so that's good. We got to meet a lot of new faces. I'm excited to work with the businesses around here. Already started those conversations. But ultimately, I would like to see maybe just a scotch of some independent content coming to this building. I know we have some independents up the road that might be difficult, but down the line, that might be something we get into. And then really cultivating and being a part of the film festivals here in Dallas. That's something that I certainly enjoyed in Austin, running the South Lamar store there. Lots of festivals, probably 7 a year that came through. Just exciting to work with directors, have all the critics out, and just be a representative of the quality that we put on the screen.
So your address changed from South Lamar to South Lamar?
It's South Lamar to South Lamar, yeah.
We're hoping the success is the same.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And to jump on that, so we officed in the Southside Lamar building for a month leading up to this. So a lot of residents have come on as staff, which is really cool to see. And then that's where we had the weekly mixers. First one was an utter failure. We had 6 people and we got food for 50, and it was a little sad. But then James had created a really creative flyer with Mr. Rogers, like, "Hey neighbor," and then we went old school college and just put free beer and free food really big, and we had about 60 people the next day. So it's our kind of community, that's for sure.
Now this is the Alamo Dallas.
Yeah, we're calling this
Not
Alamo
calling it South
Drafthouse
Lamar.
Dallas, just because if we call it South Lamar, it confuses everyone in the Alamo system. So we're just calling this Dallas. If we open another one,
Totally.
I don't know. We'll see.
One.
Yeah.
LG.
Alpha and Bravo. Yeah, I don't know.
I like OG.
But we'll figure it out
OG works.
if it ever comes to that. So yeah, this is Alamo Drafthouse Dallas. And I'll kind of let Brian talk a little bit about, as you notice, the seating and the tables are very different in here than Richardson, for those of you who've been in Richardson. And I'll let Brian talk a little bit about that.
Right, so hopefully you're really comfortable in the seats that you're sitting in. We definitely scaled up there. It's different in Richardson in that every seat you have the ability to get up and easily leave your row. That's sort of in the design. And here in the front row, and one person over here is enjoying it, your feet goes up, it fully reclines, and now you're enjoying it. Good job. 6 inches, you can go back in every row behind the front row. And in terms of service, hopefully you see no difference and you get that genuine Southern hospitality that comes through at all of our theaters. Our menu has taken a big update that we're rolling out from here in Dallas. A brand new cocktails page, that would be the last page that you see in the menu that's under the table. A new sort of theme behind the drinks and the movie ratings from G to rated R drinks. And our beer list has and wine lists have taken a complete change, and so a lot of new stuff there that we're really excited about. And 7 theaters, 700 seats. So yeah, we're really excited about being in the neighborhood and this new step up in our tables and chairs design.
One of the things we're always really cautious about is we want service to be unobstructed, which if any of you have been to Richardson, you know when you're in the stadium seating, your server's almost 3 feet below you, which is incredible. They're not in your sight line at all. But we are a draft house, and if you have a few beers, you have to get up to go to the bathroom. It is not as easy at Richardson. So that's why we updated the seats to this model. The front row has a footrest, which was Mr. Jordan's idea. Really just to say, sorry for the crappy row, here's an incredible seat. Although the front row at Alamo is about 20 feet away from the screen as opposed to 5 or 10 feet as a traditional multiplex would have. So it puts you in a great recline, which gives you an amazing sight line of the screen. We didn't do recliners in all the seats because what that leads to is really bad service, and we felt the service was paramount to anything else. So we want these servers to be able to move quietly and ninja-like throughout the entire auditorium, and without the room, they couldn't have done that with the footrest. So that's kind of why that decision was made. But we did go with a much more upgraded luxury recliner on all the seats, so we hope you guys are enjoying it.
I'm trying to be the first movie theater where people fight for the front row.
Yeah.
It always has been in Colorado on the vinyl couches.
Oh yeah,
That's true. That's true.
those vinyl
We're
couches
back.
were something.
We're the very, very back row.
Do any of the auditoriums have actual stages, elevated stages?
We don't. So to talk about that, this is actually one of the smallest theaters in the building. We have about 100 kids in the building right now who are training. So they are using all the auditoriums right now to get trained up. So that's why we're not in one of the big houses. We don't have any permanent stages. What we have is 4-foot by 4-foot modular stage planks that connect together to build like Uber stage planks. Kind of like Devastator in Transformers. We just hook them together and it becomes bigger and bigger. But it allows us to move it where we need to go. We will be adding some side lighting and stage lighting because we do want this to be a very presentation-heavy theater. As Jordan said, we want to be as involved as we can in local film festivals. And as we said at the last roundtable, I mean, our overall goal here in the next 2 to 3 years is that you experience a second Alamo Film Festival up here in Dallas that we put on here at the theater. So the trick there is to make it as good or better than Fantastic Fest, which if anybody's been to Fantastic Fest, know that is an undertaking. So we're taking our time with it, but overall that is our goal. And then if you walk around the back of the building, there's actually a huge cutout where we can add an 8th screen with about 300 seats one day. So if the market proves it up, we will be making this a 8-screen, 1,000-seat theater. So those are kind of the specs of the building, if you will.
For James, I'm curious, obviously this particular location is gonna evolve over time, but what is this specific building or maybe this specific location allow you to do in terms of programming that the Richardson location, just bare bones?
First run, too.
I mean, a lot, really, if you think about it. And that's the kind of cool thing is that now we have two theaters to really pick and choose of like, all right, you know, what works better where, what lends itself more to this type of event. I will say one of the biggest things is just having you know, that space upstairs to be able to do, you know, complimentary programming, very much like you see with South Lamar and the Highball in Austin. So that's the first thing that jumps out to me, really. And then, yeah, just where we are. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, to literally walk out the door and be able to throw a rock and hit the Dallas Convention Center, which is the venue for the big Dallas Comic-Con show. That's huge. I mean, I think, you know, if you look at what San Diego's done, San Diego Comic-Con in terms of the other venues outside, Nerd HQ comes to mind, stuff like that. Just to be able to support those other events that we've already partnered with is really exciting, and I think it's only going to afford us you know, more opportunities to be here, to be closer to airports. I mean, you wouldn't think that those things would make a huge deal when it comes down to trying to be the theater that brings in a special guest or something, but it really does. So just being closer to a lot of things like that is hopefully going to afford us a lot more opportunities, I think.
I think also, you know, with Richardson, like James said, the monthly programming is going to be same at each place, but obviously we're not going to do that on the same night or even same week. So we get a lot of people that are like, you know, I want to come to this event, but I work on Wednesdays, or my kid has soccer, whatever it may be. And, you know, the nice thing is, hey, well, you can come to Dallas and we're actually doing it 2 Tuesdays from now. So there's that convenience aspect from the monthly programming. And then, you know, as you guys know, most of you, we enter into contracts with studios for every film that we put on screen. And sometimes it gets difficult to bring in indie content when we are a first-run movie theater. But having now 14 screens in the Metroplex with another 16 on the way gives us a little bit more muscle in DFW to get those titles. But it also, you know, we can go to a studio and say, hey, we got you on 3.5 screens all over the Metroplex, but, you know, we want this Fox Searchlight picture, whatever it may be. And I'll let Jordan also talk a little bit more about how we'll be able to do that, and Brian as well, because they write the movie schedule.
I was just going to say that, you know, the way we describe who we are is simply movie lovers for movie lovers, and we just hired about 140 new movie lovers to work in this building, and there's going to be a lot of synergy and creative thoughts that get filtered our way that we warmly welcome, and actually have already let them know that that's essentially, you're an extension of our creative department. And James is a great listener of ideas, and we just sort of cultivate and maybe put some more momentum. And so a lot of things that happen at Richardson and series that have taken off have come from just that, the movie lovers that we hired in that neighborhood and around the Richardson area. So we're just really excited to see what naturally and organically happens here with 140 new movie lovers that we just hired.
And being on a street so full of artists too. I mean,
Right.
Southside on Lamar, I mean, I feel like it's 500 people and they're all artists of some kind. I mean, it is an incredible building to be in, and to be so close to Dallas Arts District and some of the other great partnerships here. We're excited. But, you know, from a first run standpoint, if you want to talk.
Yeah, I mean, from a
little
first
bit.
run standpoint, we're already starting to see the flexibility with bringing titles over from different studios. From, you know, for instance, if we had something that was kind of falling off in Richardson, but we thought that the Dallas market could take it, we have that flexibility now to say, hey, we'll take week 3 of this title to make room for new content here. And it's all a communication with the studios, open communication. Dallas is obviously a much bigger metroplex than Austin was. Austin was kind of, they wanted to see the core and then outside, so the booking's a little bit different, and I'm excited to learn more about it working with our booker, Tim Patton. We're already starting to see those moves take place. As far as independent content goes, it's going to be proving ourselves. Whenever those larger releases come out from those studios, we really want to support them when we can get them, and then really the proof is in the pudding on those grosses. If we can produce great grosses, then we'll be able to get that content, but it's a long process where we have to prove ourselves at every opportunity and not pass up that great one, which sometimes is hard to tell with independent content what's really going to perform. So I'm excited to play that game.
The other piece on a larger scale is that Drafthouse Films, which is our Alamo's distribution company has just gone through a very large merger, and the first film that they're coming out with is Michael Moore's new film. So it's a different animal. Tim League has brought on some amazing partners and owners that have the time to actually go after and cultivate those things. Tim was stretched a little thin, both managing the Alamo brand, Mondo, Drafthouse Films, and Fantastic Fest. So you guys will be seeing a lot more of that as well with the new entity, and seeing some very large films that they're going to be grabbing and bringing into Alamos before a lot of other places.
Yeah, I mean, we essentially, to back up what these guys are saying, we now just inherited, 7 more screens and kind of double the programming slots that we normally had. And so, obviously when you have one theater, Alamo, champions independent films and subversive films and films that are really hard to justify spots for at certain times of year, where you have to devote, as many screens as you can to Star Wars, but we still want to play that stuff. So now to have more opportunity to try even more stuff and be more kind of rebellious and punk rock and show stuff like that is really exciting, and especially to be able to kind of not just have one place to do it, to kind of have these 2 formations. I think what sets Alamo apart amongst a lot of things is the fact that, we could easily just have one programming team in Austin that programmed all the theaters and kind of made carbon copies, and I think we would probably do pretty well because we're kind of the only theater that does what we do. But to have actual people at each theater that come from the community and know the community and listen to the community and consider the community around them of movie lovers and artists and everyone as kind of guest programmers, so that each theater can be very specific to where it is it's kind of the coolest thing. As we get bigger and bigger, it still stays having that feeling of kind of a one-off independent art house cinema, and I think that's a big reason.
I've never really heard you guys talk about it before, but why is it that your ticket prices are relatively low compared to all the other movie theaters?
We don't have to, I mean, in essence, we're a extremely high-volume restaurant. We can get, in this building, 1,000 people between the entire building and the restaurant upstairs through the building multiple times a day. Most theaters that just do popcorn and soda are dealing with razor-thin margins. So we've never seen the need to, really raise ticket prices to an extreme that a lot of places do. I mean, most theaters with seats like this have $20 tickets. Our ticket here is $11.50 in the evening. So it's just we've never needed to. Again, we try to be a movie house for movie lovers. And we really pay attention to a lot of our guests. I mean, our top brass are people that have come how many times in a year? 50?
50 times over 50.
We can't bankrupt those guys. So we got to keep it low for our top brass so they can continue to come and enjoy the movies. But we've just never seen the need. I've said it before, we've always tried to be a triple bottom line company. You have to make money to build these structures and keep the doors open, but you've got to take care of your people, you've got to take care of the community, and you have to take care of the guest. And if you don't do that, we're just another faceless theater that has food and movies in it. So that's always been our kind of policy.
And only $6 before noon.
But on that note, would you guys pay more? No.
I'm really curious. To my knowledge, this is one of the first Alamos that moved in next to a big location like the Southside Ballroom, where you now all of a sudden have not only worry about parking for your theater itself, how many people you can get inside the actual theater and how many people you can park, but now you're going to have to start to worry about people coming over from the south side, maybe potentially parking in your theater parking lot on a busy night or things like that. Well, do y'all have any kind of things set up for that already?
We've determined that Alamo guests are way tougher than Gillies and Southside Ballroom guests. So now, we have 400 spots on this property, both on the side of it and behind it, that are 100% Alamos. The fence is not up out back yet, but it will be soon, and we will have attendance anytime Gillies or Southside Ballroom has large events. I know the GM over there very well. Our developer owns that building, so it's a very symbiotic relationship, and we all understand what has to happen. And basically, what we've looked at is we have 400 spots, which is plenty for Alamo. Now, on a Monday night in September, we're more than happy to open up our parking lot to help them out. But for the most part, the parking's ours. We will protect it with attendance. And it will most likely be something where anyone is welcome to park there, but to leave, you have to show an Alamo receipt or ticket stub, so you don't have to pay $25 to get out of the parking lot. The other good thing is Gillies parking is usually $5 to $10 depending on where you're at, and our ticket price is $11.50, so it's not as good a deal for them just to kind of go through that method as well. But we're watching it. We're very aware of it. More parking is coming down here as the growth happens, whether that be structured parking across the street and some other things. So it's a nice problem to have, but it is one that we're watching. So we're not very worried about it. If we have to have free valet and things of that nature, we will, but I don't think we'll run into that. I think what may happen is on, next December, when Star Wars comes out again, we may be crowding them a little bit. But what we're mainly hoping for with them is great partnerships. We always keep talking about, this film festival that we want to create, and can it be a mini South by, because we have this, amazing music complex down the street, and we have hotels and convention center. I mean, what we can do here by a proximity of walking is just leaps and bounds over even what the South Lamar location has been able to do in Austin. So,
the accessibility in mass transit with the DART station being right up the road, I think will relieve a lot of the potential parking issues as well. This is as he said, a walking community. There's going to be a lot of people coming to this theater just from the new places around us. So.
And Risa walked from the convention center to
Oh.
Dart Rail.
How was it?
How was it?
Station is kind of dark.
Yeah, they're working on that, I've heard.
Hey, Bill,
But it-
3D link as well, right here.
What?
The pre-hop pink feeling bus.
Oh, that's right. So we're also working on this becoming an official Uber stand. So, we're tackling it from all angles.
Yeah,
basically.
Uber's got some really cool creative promotions, and we're talking to them about, how can we make that a natural fit with some of our events where it kind of is part of it and ties in and has a fun theme and stuff like that. So.
I'm curious, I noticed the purse hooks underneath the tables. That's some things that a lot of people are like, what? That's one thing that a lot of female customers specifically have asked for. And I'm curious what other small little tweaks maybe that we haven't noticed already that you kind of implemented, because I know this is your first location that obviously you can start implementing some of the ideas that you had over in Richardson.
I'll let Brian cover that.
Just one that comes to mind. We have a double door system in a lot of our auditoriums for potential noise bleed when just our servers and guests are going in and out of the theaters, and maybe that unique timing where another theater's doors open. So I think that we handled that much better than some of our other theaters.
It was something we could, Richardson, we had to fit into an old Pep Boys space that was L-shaped, and so we were limited, quite frankly. So what we did here was any of our theaters that were very close to one another, especially the big houses, have double door systems and also dual entrances. So, really one for guests and one for service staff, so you're not having that kind of headache. You guys won't find this exciting, but I find it very exciting. All of our sinks here are trough sinks, because I hate water on the sinks counter, but anyways. And there's a lot of the little convenience stuff. Here in a couple weeks when we are showing off upstairs, we have purse hooks under the bar, we have purse hooks on a lot of the chairs. We never did that in Richardson because people sometimes go under those tables and we didn't want to scalp anybody, literally. So it was something we couldn't do here. But yeah, all those little things we've really taken a lot of pride in here. And James can talk a little bit about the movie posters in the halls, the movie posters that are coming, and some very large movie posters that'll be in the lobby.
Should I do that now or on the tour? I'll talk about it now, and then we'll talk about it on the tour as well. So when you guys walk through the hallway, you probably noticed the posters on the wall, which are called 6 sheets. A lot of our Alamos have those, and that was a really, really fun process. I gotta say, one of the coolest things that Bill let me do was was kind of curate that, and I worked with our projectionist, Sean, on kind of finding those and hunting them down, and you know, it's just a really cool process, and the stuff that you find, I mean, from private collectors or just eBay, and I mean, like some of them came, like that Barbarella came from Rome, you know, and it's really all when you're looking. I mean, had we looked a month later, it would have been different stuff. I do have a saved search on my eBay now for when they pop up, but you know, when we really set ourselves a parameter, like 1960, 1970, we really went for you know, try to get a really nice kind of variants of genre. So, you know, fantasy, horror, sci-fi, Western, war movie, and really went for kind of based on art and color, what really blended well with the colors of the hallway, and then you know, if they all kind of have a certain vibe when you look down the hallway, and I just couldn't. I mean, I couldn't have been happier with what we got, and just to see them go up last week was like the coolest thing. In the hallway that kind of intersects with this one, where you saw empty frames on the wall, that's going to be kind of our Dallas Hall of Fame. One of the things, since I started with Alamo, that I've wanted to do is have a theater that had posters for Dallas-made movies, original posters for Dallas-made movies. You know, I grew up in Dallas and have been a movie nerd my whole life, so to know a lot of those movies were shot in our backyard is the coolest thing. And so I thought that was really important, being this theater in Dallas proper, the first theater in downtown Dallas in 16 years, that we kind of pay homage to that. So I will keep those titles secret, but you will see them pretty soon.
They get here Monday.
They get
here.
Yeah, they get here Monday. And then, of course, being a theater in downtown Dallas and the view that we have in the lobby, I mean, the movie that we have to pay the most homage to is RoboCop, which our fair city served as 1980s futuristic Detroit. And so we have a big RoboCop bus shelter. We have a couple of really cool foreign RoboCop posters, originals coming in. That'll go in those frames, and then we actually haven't announced this yet, so you guys get a scoop. We're working with Mondo, and one of the artists that is just probably one of the most unique artists they work with, a guy by the name of Mark Aspinall, who does these beautiful kind of Art Deco style hand painted movie posters that are just, I mean, just. They're so cool. They're so cool. He's truly one of their most unique artists, and so he's doing 3 brand new original posters for us for the lobby, and those will be RoboCop, Logan's Run, and Phantom of the Paradise, which we felt were not only 3 of the coolest Dallas-made movies, but 3 that all kind of fit together, all had an art style that lend themselves to each other, and those will be on the giant wall in the lobby.
That stairwell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right as you go up the stairwell.
So we'll do a big unveiling for those. And I mean, that's just one of those things where you're like, here's the titles, go, so I can't wait to see what he comes up with for those. And then
That was an interesting process. Every
Yeah.
Alamo lobby is usually themed. Richardson, we kind of went with the Iron Giant theme just because of the telecom corridor and the technology that was Richardson. We thought that was a good fit.
And the kind of atomic age architecture.
Yeah, we have some fun stuff planned for the Las Colinas location. Being on John Carpenter Freeway, we'll leave it at that.
There's a hint.
So this one, it was, if you're in that lobby, it's windows, stairwell, and the hallway that comes over here. There's nothing we could do. So we're going to do a very large mural on that wall. And fun fact, bad murals are really easy to find. Good murals are really, really hard to find.
Yeah, if you need a mural that looks like something that would have been in like your 1990s teenage bedroom, we can point you in the direction of a few guys that sent us some concepts.
And but what it was is serendipitously we contacted Mondo, and Mondo's never done something like this, even though they're an Alamo sister company. They're very protective of the name, and they jumped on it, which was really cool. So we're very excited. We think those will probably be unveiled in May when they get complete, and we may or may not have some little stuff that we can do as well with it.
Yeah, you guys should definitely look up Mark's stuff. I mean, it's you'll immediately get the sense of what we're talking about. I mean, just I think it's really important that with this theater, having each Alamo kind of be themed, whether it's themed around the area in which it sits, or just to have kind of a general theme that homages, one of our favorite movies. I think Yonkers is Dr. Strangelove. We have a theater in Austin that's all Planet of the Apes themed. I think that's yet another thing that sets us apart. But I think being where we are, and I think it's very cool to kind of to pay tribute to those movies. So, yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about beer.
Okay.
So tell us about the beer runs here. Tell us about what we got localized. For
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
So 32 beers on tap, which is actually similar to Richardson, but that's a number that we just think is the right number. If after 32 might as well have 100, but 32 is nice. And we still support the local allies, and we actually taken a step to bring on a lot of the well-recognized national beers and bringing in stuff that are hard to find. With a second location in the way beer distributorship relationships work, we're going to be able to put ourselves in an elite category now with the volume of having 2 locations to get some really rare stuff that maybe, like a meddlesome moth would carry. So we already have that relationship with the vendors on the anticipated volume we're going to be going through. So we're going to hopefully we will have a beer list I think separates ourselves from just every bar in Dallas with an elite selection. We're real excited about it.
We've also gone to 100% cans here. We don't have any bottles. That's mainly for storage reasons rather than anything else, but it's much easier to stack cans.
It's hip.
It looks cooler.
Yeah.
And every time we showed the Warriors, people were like putting them on their fingers and disrupting the
Stop buying
movie.
bottles.
Yeah, that was a joke, guys. Yeah.
The other, some very new stuff, Alamo as a brand has hired a very well-respected and seasoned executive chef. That's something, we've always had executive chefs, but we've never had one of this caliber. So there's going to be a lot of menu changes coming very soon. He's really getting our culinary guys from each market, and almost the way James works with the Austin programming team, it becomes this collaborative team of programmers from all over the country. This is what you'll start seeing in menu specials. And then the other exciting part of that is we hired a standalone culinary guy for the new Mission Theater in San Francisco that has been challenging the brand a lot and just kind of coming up with ideas that before we said there's no way we can execute this at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night with 1,000 people. And he kind of said, no, we can. And it was kind of that 4-minute mile mentality, and he has done it, and now it has opened up our chefs to a whole new way of thinking. So I think you're going to see a lot more exciting menu items, a lot more different stuff, and a lot more rotating specials, more and more. And then, of course, we will continue to do our menu specials and food specials for every movie that it is appropriate for. We obviously like punny titles like the Admiral Akbar snack bar, It's a Wrap, and the Chewbacca
One of the
cookies.
things that, speaking of food and drink, that I liked about the Alamo, my son and I, when we go, is that the people that bring the drinks and the food are not seen. They don't mess with the other person behind you from seeing the movie. Unlike some of these other theaters, you watch a movie and all of a sudden the 6-foot-tall server guy is standing right in front and you miss some of the scene. That's one thing about the Alamo Drafthouse servers. They're pretty good about not being seen and still get your food. You got to instill that with this one as well?
Without a doubt, and also when we get these advanced screenings and doing tech checks, if you will, we're really diligent about taking notes about maybe climactic scenes on when, by timing, when we like to drop checks, it might not be the ideal scene in the movie to do it, and we talk about those things about when we drop the checks to be discreet and not ruin a scene in the movie, and just take it to that level, which I think also is separates us from a lot of our competition. Just movie lovers for movie lovers, and we don't want to ruin the movie, and all the way down to when we present the check being thought out.
Yeah, I think everything we do just goes back to respecting this experience, respecting the viewing experience for people around you, us showing you guys respect, for coming and watching a movie here as opposed to somewhere else. And so, yeah.
And I mean, a lot of you guys know our ordering system, but, when the lights are up and we're kind of in restaurant mode, our servers are there to talk to you, to tell you about specials, to tell you about the Obscure Rotate craft beer that we have on draft, but once the lights go down, you have pads of paper where you write your order, you put it up right in front of you, and then our kids just grab it and go, and it ensures that there's no talking during the film, and it's a very good way to ensure order quality and correctness. And, you know, I mean, in fact, that's what's going on in this building right now. You wouldn't know that we have 22 trainers from both our Richardson store and Austin here training over the next week, almost 120, 130 brand new kids that a lot of them have never served before. Like Brian said, we hired movie lovers and craft beer lovers. That's why we do a month-and-a-half long soft opening, just to get their kind of feet under them. But I mean, it's as detailed as jingle your pockets before you go in the theater during a shift meeting. I mean, we're very, very big about them being quiet and unobtrusive, and that comes down to how much change they have in their pocket or apron.
Do they need to be like shorter than a certain height?
We only hire 5 foot tall servers now.
Although some, like, I'm sure you guys saw him in the lobby. He's the tallest guy I've ever seen in my life. He did start as a server
Oh, that did not work out.
for one day, and we're like, dude, no. Because when you're bending over, you're as tall as normal people.
Fun fact, though, he drives a smart car.
Yeah, that's not a joke. He
Yeah,
literally
trying to
drives a
get
smart
picture
car.
of that. Yeah.
Also, to answer the question that I know you're all wondering, we will have chimichangas for Deadpool.
Oh man, I knew you were gonna ask.
I was waiting for it.
We have a few letters of intent out right now in Tarrant County. We don't have any in Fort Worth, unfortunately, and it is a tough market to get into. It's just very saturated with theaters. We've looked at the new tollway, and I mean, just being very candid with you guys, the population is not very dense, and those developers are very proud of that land. So it just becomes a problem of economics. Land cost over there is higher than the land right here in downtown Dallas, which is interesting on a brand new tollway. But we continue to look. There's a few areas in there that we have kind of started getting creative. As we get to critical mass from an operation standpoint with 4 venues in the Metroplex, it allows us to do maybe some more creative things, whether that's a small 2-plex or 3-plex where we can fit into an area, and maybe it's the first 100% programmed indie art house Alamo, just so we get out from under the film restrictions of first-run movies. But we are looking, and that is probably the question that is the bane of our social media manager's existence. But no, and again, I say it every time, I live in Tarrant County, so I would love to make these guys drive all the way over there in office with me, but we have yet to do it.
I'm not really a business guy. When you say that you have a few letters of intent out, what does that mean?
Basically, when we start negotiating with a landlord, these deals are fairly unique in that we have to sign prototypically a 15-year lease with 3 5-year renewals, so it is a very long lease period. So usually what we look for is a developer that's willing to build a building for us, and then we occupy it and pay for all of the fixtures and furniture and equipment inside the building. So it's kind of a symbiotic type relationship. They own the building and the land, so they build it. We own the equipment and the operations, so we bring that to the table. So we, as you start going down that road, our leases are 60 to 90 page of legal speak. So we try to do a 3-page letter of intent to kind of solidify the business points of the deal. And if everybody likes it, we then let the attorneys move forward with it. So we have letters of intent out. There's still some negotiation points on it that we're trying to figure out, but we do have 2 or 3 right now in Tarrant County. Just
What
right.
area?
That I can't talk about, but we have another 6 out on the rest of the counties up here in North Texas. And if anybody's dealt in real estate, probably none of those will happen. But we keep throwing the darts at the board and seeing what sticks. So we're always on the hunt for new locations. Yeah, Dev.
Social media. So you guys have always branded yourselves as Alamo Drafthouse DFW on Facebook. Are you guys going to separate the 2 theaters now so there's no confusion, or how are you guys going to do that?
No, all social media will remain the same. It'll be, the reason we're DFW is that's how the brand recognizes our market. That's the market we own. That's why we use that.
So you're going to differentiate, hey, this is a Dallas location event versus Richardson, or?
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the stuff that's happening at both, it's like Bill said, I mean, now you have double the opportunities at 2 different times in the month to come, which I think is a great thing. You don't have to choose. You know, programming is a tricky thing on its own, programming one theater, double programming every day, because you essentially want to have 2 events that work in 2 different time periods that don't try and cannibalize your audience. They don't try and attract the same audience. Well, now, part of the not so fun challenge is now I have 4 spots a day, and it's just naturally, I've just given up. It's just naturally going to happen where you may want to go to something at Richardson, you may want to go to something at Dallas, but now at least you have multiple chances in a month. So that stuff will just, you know, on our website, it's very easy. Let's say there's a Princess Bride quote along, and there's 2 show times and 2 dates. When you click the link, it takes you to the specific show page, and it has this date, this time at Richardson, this date, this time at Dallas. So it makes it really easy. All of our markets that have multiple theaters, this is how they do it. I think it wouldn't be very helpful to have it be disjointed, because then you have so many different pages for so many different things, and you feel like you have to like all of them, keep track of all of them. So we feel like keeping it in one place is easy. And then the unique events to each theater is just, hey, this is happening at Richardson, or this is happening at Dallas. So the main thing is just really, for our social media manager, is just he's now going to have double the people commenting and double the people interacting and stuff like that. So that's more of it. But
are you guys, that you've partnered with Mondo for posters, looking to do something maybe screenings and specific posters like here?
Yeah, so we have the monthly Mondo series, which is also co-sponsored by Chiller. That's coming back, which is really cool because if you guys don't know, that's a monthly screening sponsored by Mondo, where there's a giveaway of some sort, and the screening is centered around something they're about to release, whether that's a poster, vinyl, toy, whatever. And then, I've always been a huge fan of Mondo and got to know those guys a long time ago, and so it's always been a big thing for me is to have very specific, market-specific events, and so we've been lucky to have them down and do a couple events with them around Texas Frightmare, because they always come down for that. We are already working on 3 different Texas Frightmare events for this year. And so, I think what's cool is we're kind of in a new era of Mondo where, while they're very much keeping what makes them Mondo, the exclusivity, there's also a side where they're branching out and making things more accessible and available. You may or may not see, they already have the Mondo Blu-ray Steelbook cases. So you're going to see more stuff like that you're going to go to Target and you're going to see Mondo stuff. They announced Mondo Balls, which is a really cool kind of 80s throwback toy that is supposed to be accessible. So they're getting into, they're kind of keeping what makes them Mondo, as I said, but they're also getting into this stuff that's going to be available at comic book stores and Targets and places like that. So as that happens, you're going to see, we tested something out with the sweater line where we kind of had a Mondo pop-up shop. You're going to see more stuff like that where every lobby is going to have kind of a cutout Mondo section, like a little store. And then we are talking about doing something where you'll be able to purchase something that ties into those 3 prints. They won't be those 3 prints that are in our lobby. Those are, we think it's kind of cool that they're just exclusive, they only exist on our wall, but there will be something that we're working on tied into that. So all that to say, yeah, I mean, those guys, they're great. I mean, you reach out to them an idea, and if it's something that they get excited about, like they're down to do something for it, and they're bigger than ever, so they have more licenses than they've ever had. So that just makes the opportunities kind of, wider and more possible. So
they're really just trying to get back to their roots. I mean, Mondo started as a closet in the original Alamo where they were, putting logos on T-shirts with iron.
Yeah, literally.
We're not going to do that again, but there is talk of more merch and things of that nature. I mean, you guys experienced some of it for Star Wars with the commemorative glass. So it's really just, again, they're still doing the very limited items, but they want to have just more accessible items for Alamo and just to really bridge the gap between the brands.
Yeah, obviously it's too early to say anything, but they did roll out kind of, there's at least one cool Mondo thing outside of the Mondo series, the monthly Mondo series. There's at least one cool Mondo thing pretty much every month in 2016 in terms of stuff you'll be able to get. The Birth Movies Death and Pint Glass for Star Wars, as well as some of the other ones they've done, Back to the Future and Jurassic World and a few others, have been wildly successful. Studios are just going crazy over it. So there's going to be a lot more stuff like that for first run. Also, we're doing something really cool with Fox for the Aliens anniversary. It's called Alien Day, and it's on 426, LV 426. So look out for that coming up. There should be a big announcement with that, and that's it. Mondo's a huge part of that, as you can imagine. So there's just, like I said, as somebody who's been, a huge Mondo fan since the beginning, since it was just a closet, and you could walk in and pick like your color Hanes T-shirt, and then pick like out of a binder your iron-on, and they do the T-shirt, the heat press. I still see some guys around here wearing their very faded, decrepit version of that shirt. To see where they are now, and to be able to work with those guys, and it's just cool. It's really cool.
Bill, can you talk about the branding? I know you guys have worked with local brands. Are you going to be doing more of that here? Like, I know Dude Sweet Chocolate, for instance, and some other nice brands, Oak Cliff Coffee?
Yeah, I mean, we try to work locally whenever we can. Oak Cliff Coffee is our coffee roaster. That's what you guys are drinking right now. Catherine and us at Dude Sweet have partnered on a lot of one-offs where she does these great themed, whether it be chocolate truffles or whatever it is she comes up with in her laboratory / commissary. So we'll continue to do that. A lot of our menu items here at Alamo, wherever we can, and then in the restaurant and bar upstairs, are sourced locally. We have local bakers, cheese shops, and everything in between for that. So we try to go that direction as much as possible, yeah.
Yeah, the newest one into the fold is Empire Bakery. We're starting to bring in some of their products. So.
And on that same front with programming, I mean, a big thing that has been one of my big things since I started was just community partnerships, working with similar brands where it's like, hey, we can bring this to the table. What can you guys bring to this table? Let's do something together and make this even cooler than if it was just us doing it. And I think we're going to continue that in full force with the partnerships you've seen, and then being just closer to a lot of other brands that we love. Dallas Arts District being a huge one is going to afford us more possibilities and stuff like that. So,
is there anything that we haven't mentioned that any of y'all would like to close with?
As far as other little doodads we have in the theater, you'll see the servers in Dallas with iPads in their hand to take your order. Which, from an operational standpoint, what y'all don't see is they get a stack of flags and they go pound those into a computer, and then everyone has to pound them out. What we're going to see now is you give an order, the order goes in, and then it comes out. So we're hoping to see much quicker drink service, especially inside the theaters. That's something, as an operator, I'm excited about.
Yeah.
And you'll see those pop up in Richardson very soon as well.
Yeah.
One more thing I want to put out there, because I think if it's out there in the press, maybe Bill will be more inclined to do it.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
I think it's unfair that Detroit has a RoboCop statue.
Thanks.
I know that those people need it. I know they need that symbol of hope right now, but I think us being the true Delta City, I think we deserve a RoboCop statue at some point. So
That's 1 inch taller.
that's 1 inch. Maybe his gun is a little bit longer. So I keep telling Bill at some point, how awesome would it be to have this awesome? I mean, especially with DPD's headquarters right there, and just the skyline right there. It's perfect. So you guys help me rally to get Dallas their own RoboCop statue, because the people of Detroit banded together and they got one. So, I mean, we really deserve one.
So like what, change.org, is that where you're going to be posting?
Change.org. I think they probably have